The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened slowly. Ambassador Hyunwoo walked inside with steady steps. His black suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and shiny armor of the alien delegates. But he walked with confidence. He was here to represent Earth, and he had not been invited. Speaker Vrex stood at the center podium. He was the leader of the Thranic species. His four eyes narrowed as he watched the human enter. Vrex had ruled the council for 300 years. Nobody had ever challenged his authority before today. "You were not called here," Vrex said. His voice was sharp and cold. "We called ourselves," Hyunwoo answered. His voice was calm but firm. "When the council puts trade sanctions on Earth without asking us first, we see it as an attack." The chamber filled with strange sounds. The 47 alien species made clicking noises, buzzing sounds, and electronic beeps. They were all talking at once. The council had allowed humans to watch their meetings but never to speak or vote. Humans were new to space travel. Most aliens thought humans were too violent and too wild to be trusted. "Your species broke the rules of Sector 7, Vrex continued. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You built a colony on a world inside the protected zone. The sanctions are meant to teach you a lesson." Hyunwoo reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Images appeared in the air above the council floor. They showed star maps, colony records, and resource data. "The world you say we took is called Taiyang 3. Our colony ships left Earth 42 years ago. That was long before your protected zone existed. We have legal rights to that world. The law is clear." "Laws can be bent," Vrex said with a wave of his clawed hand. "The strong make the rules, human. You should learn your place before you get hurt." Hyunwoo smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Is that a threat, Speaker?" "It is the truth." The doors opened again. Commander Yuna walked into the chamber. She wore her military uniform with pride. Medals decorated her chest. She had fought in wars before. She had seen what humans could do when they were pushed too far. The aliens recognized a warrior when they saw one. Several delegates moved nervously in their seats. "Commander," Hyunwoo said without turning around. "What is our status?" "The fleet is ready, Ambassador. All 300 ships. They are waiting for your order." The chamber exploded with noise. Delegates jumped from their seats. Voices shouted in dozens of different languages. The translation systems could barely keep up with all the angry words. Vrex slammed his claw on the podium. The sound cut through the chaos. "You dare bring warships to our homeworld? This is war." "No," Hyunwoo said quietly. But somehow everyone could still hear him. "This is a reminder. You put sanctions on Earth, you threatened our colonies. You thought we would accept being controlled because we are young, because we are new, because you forgot what it means to fight for survival. You cannot win against the full power of the Council," Vrex declared. "We have thousands of ships. Tens of thousands. We have weapons that can destroy planets." "What do you have?" Yuna stepped forward. Her hand rested on the weapon at her side. It was not a threat yet, but it was a promise. "We have 300 ships. We have 4 billion very angry humans who remember what it took to leave Earth. We have soldiers who grew up hearing stories about impossible battles. We have engineers who can turn junk into weapons, and we have nothing to lose." A crystalline alien spoke up. It was a Torvan delegate. Light pulsed from its body as it talked. "This is crazy. You would sacrifice your entire species for pride?" "Not for pride," Hyunwoo said. "For freedom. We tried talking. We followed your rules, and when we needed fairness, you gave us contempt. So now we show you what contempt looks like when it has weapons." Vrex's jaw clicked. It might have been laughter. "You have 1 day to remove your fleet and accept the sanctions. If you refuse, the Council will crush you with overwhelming force. We have destroyed rebellions before, human. Yours will be no different." The ambassador and the commander turned to leave. They walked together with synchronized steps. At the doorway, Hyunwoo stopped and looked back at the council. "We have a saying on Earth, Speaker. Never start a fight, but always finish it. You started this. We will finish it." The doors closed behind them with a heavy sound. It felt like a countdown had begun. In space above the council homeworld, Captain Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable. He watched the tactical display screen. 300 human ships floated in formation. Each ship was smaller than the alien dreadnoughts. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who knew the odds were against them. Behind them, across all of human space, millions more waited. Farmers and factory workers, scientists and students, all ready to fight if they had to. "Captain, The communications officer called out. Ambassador Hyunwoo is back on the diplomatic shuttle. He wants to speak with you on a secure channel. Put him through. The ambassador's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. They gave us 24 hours to surrender. They think we will back down first. Will we? Do-hyun asked. No, prepare for battle. And Captain, make sure the galaxy remembers this day. Make sure they understand why you should never go to war with humans. The channel went dark. Do-hyun looked at his crew. He saw determination in their eyes. They were outnumbered. They were outgunned. They faced an enemy that had ruled the stars for thousands of years, but they were human. And that made all the difference. The countdown had started. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Humanity had come to the stars not to conquer, but to be free. And they would pay any price to keep that freedom. 24 hours until war. 24 hours until the Council learned what happens when you corner a species that refuses to quit. 24 hours until the name Earth became known across every star system as the world that said no to tyranny. The human fleet held position, waiting, ready, unafraid. 18 hours remained when the Council fleet arrived. Admiral Krevthar commanded 2,000 warships. His fleet was powerful enough to destroy dozens of worlds. His flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was 3 kilometers long. Weapons covered every surface. He had ended civilizations before. He looked at the human formation and felt something close to pity. They arranged themselves in defensive groups, his tactical officer reported. They are using old tactics. They are trying to protect each other with overlapping fire. Krevthar studied the holographic display. The human ships were clustered together. Groups of 30 vessels formed tight patterns. It reminded him of ancient battles. Shields locked together against charging enemies. It was outdated. It would not save them. Open a channel to their commander. Captain Do-hyun's face appeared on the screen. Krevthar was surprised by how young the human looked. No scars from battle. No metal body parts. Just flesh and determination. I am Admiral Krevthar of the Council Enforcement Fleet. You have one final chance to leave peacefully. Your courage is noted, but courage cannot stop antimatter missiles. Admiral, Do-hyun responded. His tone was respectful but strong. We appreciate the warning. But we are not here to die bravely. We are here to win. Krevthar's translator struggled with the words. Win? Against these odds? Human, your people have potential. Do not waste it on stubbornness. The Council has existed for 50,000 years. We have seen species rise and fall. Accept the sanctions. Accept your place. In time, you will be welcomed as equals. We do not wait for permission to be equal, Do-hyun said. We take it. The channel closed. Krevthar felt something strange in his chest. Not fear, but maybe uncertainty. He pushed the feeling away. Emotion was weakness in war. Begin the attack. Target their command ships first. Make it quick. Aboard the Indomitable, alarms started singing. Do-hyun watched as 2,000 points of light began moving toward them. The Council fleet moved with practiced precision. They were an ancient military machine. All ships start Protocol Wildfire, he commanded. And remember, speed is life. The human formation exploded outward like pieces from a bomb. Ships that had been grouped together suddenly scattered in all directions. Their engines pushed them to speeds that would have killed most aliens. But human ships had special systems. They had gravity controls that protected the crews. They are running, Krevthar's tactical officer announced. They are retreating in random patterns. Chase them. Do not let them escape to hyperspace. The Admiral felt satisfied. Humanity had talked boldly, but now they fled when faced with real power. As expected, the Council ships surged forward. Their massive engines burned bright against the darkness of space. They had better weapons. They had stronger armor. They had more advanced shields. What they did not have was the one thing humanity had learned to use better than any other species in the galaxy. Creativity. The human ships were not fleeing. They were positioning themselves. Admiral! The tactical officer's voice cracked with alarm. Energy readings are spiking across their entire fleet. They are ejecting their reactor cores. Krevthar looked up just as 300 human ships released their fusion reactors at the same time. Small suns tumbled through space. Then in perfect timing, they all exploded. The blast turned space into a sea of fire and radiation. Electromagnetic pulses rippled outward. Sensors fried. Shield generators overloaded. The council formation was packed tightly for the chase. They took the full force of the explosion. 20 ships vanished instantly. Their hulls cracked open like eggs. 100 more tumbled helplessly. Their navigation systems were blind. Their shields collapsed. The rest of the fleet scattered, trying to escape the killing field that had appeared around them. And through the chaos, running silent and dark, 300 human vessels attacked from new directions. They had released their main reactors but activated their backup systems. Smaller systems that were harder to detect. Now they struck like wolves among confused prey. The Indomitable's railguns fired. Magnetic accelerators hurled metal rods at incredible speeds. No energy to track. No heat to target. Just solid death punching through weakened shields and armor. Around them, the human fleet used weapons that seemed primitive. Chemical missiles. Mass drivers. Old-fashioned explosives delivered by automated drones. Impossible, Krevthar whispered as his fleet began to fall apart. They sacrificed their main reactors. They should be helpless. His tactical officer's voice held new respect. They planned for this, Admiral. They knew we would chase them in close formation. They turned their own ships into bombs. All ships emergency scatter. Regroup at rally point Sigma 7. But the Council fleet was built for overwhelming strength, not speed. The massive dreadnoughts needed time to turn. Time to coordinate. Time the humans did not give them. Captain Dohyun stood calmly on his bridge. Engineers reported the backup reactors were stable. Weapons crews called out successful hits. Damage control teams worked to keep wounded ships fighting. Sir, the enemy flagship is trying to retreat, his tactical officer reported. Follow them. Target their engines. Let us clip their wings. The Indomitable surged forward. It was smaller and faster than the huge Eternal Dominion. Human gunners had trained in simulators that recreated every naval battle from Earth's history. They calculated firing solutions with practiced skill. Railgun rounds punched through the flagship's rear shields. Fuel lines severed. 2 of its 6 main engines died. Krevthar felt his ship shake. Damage reports flooded in. His command staff was overwhelmed. The humans were not trying to destroy his flagship, he realized. They were crippling it on purpose, forcing him to watch as his fleet was torn apart. Communications broadcast on all channels. Full retreat. All ships fall back to Council space immediately. It took 6 hours for the Council fleet to escape. Of the 2,000 ships that had arrived so confidently, 400 limped away damaged. Nearly 300 would never return home. The humans lost 19 ships. 50 more needed major repairs. As the last Council ship vanished into hyperspace, Dohyun received a message from Ambassador Hyunwoo. Captain, the Council is requesting immediate talks. They are calling it a regrettable misunderstanding. Dohyun allowed himself a small smile. Tell them we are happy to talk. But the price just went up. We are not just keeping Taiyang 3. We want full voting rights in the Council. And we want all sanctions ended immediately. And if they refuse... The captain looked at his crew. He saw their exhaustion and their pride. They had done the impossible. Then we remind them again. As many times as necessary. Across human space, news of the victory spread. On Earth, crowds celebrated in the streets. On Colony World, settlers who had feared evacuation orders wept with relief. And in the halls of power, humanity's ambassadors walked taller. The galaxy had learned its first lesson about humanity. Never underestimate the species that climbed from a single planet through pure stubbornness. But there were more lessons to come. Speaker Vrek stared at the casualty reports. He could not believe what he was reading. The Council's military command had promised him that defeating the humans would be easy. They said overwhelming force would work. Instead, they had lost nearly 300 ships to a fleet that was 7 times smaller. Explain, he demanded. His voice was cold enough to freeze water. Explain how the most advanced fleet in the galaxy was defeated by a species that learned space travel less than a century ago. General Thexvor stood at attention. His body was made of gel and he had no bones, but he stood straight despite his fear. Speaker, the humans used tactics we have never seen before. They sacrificed their own systems to gain advantages. They used weapons we thought were useless. They fought without following any standard rules. You are describing chaos, General, not strategy. Exactly, Speaker. They made chaos into a weapon. The general activated a recording of the battle. Watch here. When we chased them, they scattered. When we spread out, they concentrated their forces. When we adapted, they changed again. It is like they were fighting a completely different war than the one we prepared for. Vrex watched the replay 3 times. Each time he watched, he understood the disaster better. The humans had not won through better technology or more ships. They had won because they refused to fight the war the Council expected. What do you recommend? Immediate peace talks, Thexvor said without hesitation. Every simulation we run shows the same result. If we escalate, they will adapt. If we send more ships, they will target our supply lines. If we threaten their colonies, they will attack our worlds. These are not a species that fights by rules, Speaker. They fight to win. Unacceptable. The Council cannot show weakness. Then the Council will bleed, the General replied bluntly. I have studied their history, Speaker. Do you know how long their longest war lasted? 30 years. They fought that war across their entire planet. Billions died. Cities turned to ash. They never surrendered. They do not know how. Vrex dismissed the General and turned to his intelligence advisor. Her name was Suri and she was a whisper. Whispers were transparent and hard to see. They specialized in understanding alien minds. When she spoke, it was like hearing thoughts become words in the air. What is your assessment? Humanity is driven by what they call spite, Speaker. It is a unique human emotion. The willingness to harm yourself if it means harming your enemy worse. They will sacrifice everything to prove a point. That is insane. By our standards, yes. By theirs, it is noble. They have thousands of stories celebrating self-sacrifice for principles. Their greatest heroes are those who stood against impossible odds and refused to give up. You did not just attack their fleet, Speaker. You challenged their identity. Vrex felt the weight of his 3 centuries of leadership pressing down on him. He had led the Council through trade disputes and border conflicts. He had made peace with the hive minds. He had negotiated treaties with the Machine Collective. But he had never faced an opponent who seemed eager for mutual destruction. What do they want? Everything, Suri whispered. They want respect. They want a voice. They want to be seen as equals, not subjects. And they are willing to burn down the galaxy to get it. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath New Sol, Commander Yuna reviewed deployment orders. The victory at the Council homeworld had bought them time. But she knew it was only the beginning. We are stretched thin, she told her staff. Every military ship we have is either at the front or getting repaired. If the Council sends their full fleet, we cannot match them. Lieutenant Minho pulled up strategic maps. We do not have to match them, Commander. We just have to make victory too expensive for them to accept. Explain. The lieutenant highlighted key points across the galaxy. The Council relies on centralized systems, trade stations, communication relays, manufacturing hubs. They built their civilization on predictability and order. So we give them chaos. Yuna leaned forward studying the targets. Each one was lightly defended. The Council considered them too unimportant for major protection. But together, they formed the veins of the Council's economy. Guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale, she said quietly. Hit-and-run attacks. Make them defend everything, which means they can defend nothing. Exactly. We cannot win a normal war, so we do not fight one. We fight our war. It was simple but elegant. Humanity could not match the Council's military power. But they could absolutely destroy its ability to sustain that power. And they had one critical advantage that Minho did not mention, but everyone understood. Humans were very, very good at breaking things. Draft the operations plan, Yuna ordered, but we hold it in reserve. Give diplomacy one more chance. If the Council wants peace, we will take it. But if they want war, she did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. 3 days later, Ambassador Hyunwoo received an official message from the Council. They were offering negotiations, but on their terms. Humans would be granted limited independence. They could keep Taiyang 3, but they would accept Council oversight on expansion and military capabilities. The ambassador read the proposal twice. Then he sent a single word in response. No. Within an hour, Speaker Vrex's personal channel activated. The alien's 4 eyes blazed with barely controlled rage. You reject the Council's generous offer? You risk everything for pride. We risk everything for freedom, Hyunwoo corrected. Your offer would make us subjects, not equals. We did not come to the stars to bow before new masters. Then you will face the full might of the Council. I will personally command a fleet of 5,000 ships. I will turn your worlds to glass and scatter your species across the void. The ambassador's expression never changed. You can try, Speaker. But before you commit to that course, consider this. You lost 300 ships and thousands of crew members in a single battle. How many more are you willing to lose? How many council worlds will accept their children dying to maintain your pride? You cannot win. We do not have to win, Speaker. We just have to make sure you lose worse. That is another human concept you might want to study. Mutually assured destruction. We invented it before we even left our own planet. Brex's jaw clicked rapidly. It was a sign of extreme agitation. You would doom both our species? If that is what it takes to remain free, yes, absolutely, without hesitation. Hyunwoo leaned closer to the camera. But there is another option. Real negotiation. Real equality. A seat at the council table. Full voting rights. Recognition as a sovereign power. Give us that and you gain allies instead of enemies. We are good at war, Speaker, but we are even better at peace. When we commit to something, we commit completely. The channel closed without response. Hyunwoo sat back in his chair. He felt the weight of every word he had spoken. He had just threatened a civilization that had ruled the stars for 50,000 years. Either he had secured humanity's future or he had condemned it. Time would tell which. Across the galaxy, both sides prepared for the possibility of total war. The Council mobilized its vast reserves. They pulled ships from patrol duty and garrison positions. Humanity activated every ship that could fly and every crew that could fight. But in the quiet spaces between stars, in diplomatic channels and backroom conversations, a different kind of war was being fought. A war of words and economics, of alliances and pressure. The Torvin Collective reached out to human diplomats quietly. They expressed sympathy. The hive minds had long resented council dominance. They began asking pointed questions about self-determination. Even among council species, voices emerged questioning whether maintaining pride was worth the cost. The galaxy was watching. For the first time in thousands of years, the council's absolute authority was being challenged, not by force alone, but by an idea. The idea that any species, no matter how young or small, deserved to be free. The human strike team appeared in the maintenance corridor of Trade Station Harmony. Their forms shimmered as personal stealth fields adjusted to the light around them. Sergeant Jiwon checked her equipment one final time before signaling her squad to move forward. They had 8 minutes before the station's automated security reached this sector. Remember, she whispered through the encrypted communication channel, no casualties. We are here to deliver a message, not to kill anyone. The team moved with practiced efficiency. They bypassed security nodes and disabled monitoring systems. They were not here to steal or destroy. They were here to prove a point. In the station's main data core, they uploaded a simple file. It was a technical document showing every vulnerability in the station's design, every weakness, every potential failure point, every way a hostile force could cripple the facility in minutes. Then they vanished, leaving only a text message displayed on every screen in the facility. If we wanted you dead, you would be. Humanity requests negotiations in good faith. Similar operations played out across council space. Not attacks, but demonstrations. Humans appeared where they should not be able to reach. They did things they should not be able to do. And they left without violence. Each operation was carefully calculated to show capability without provocation. The Council's security forces scrambled to respond. But they were always 3 steps behind. Humans did not follow expected patterns. They used converted civilian ships as military transports. They hid in sensor dead zones that Council doctrine said could not support life. They used technology combinations that should not work but somehow did. They are in our supply depot, one administrator reported. They have accessed our communication relay, another confirmed. They have mapped our defensive installations. A third shouted, and through it all not a single shot fired, not one casualty. Just an ever-growing list of security breaches that proved humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, but chose restraint. Speaker Vrex convened an emergency session of the Council's inner cabinet. 23 species gathered in the secure chamber deep beneath the Council complex. These were the true powers behind galactic governance. They are humiliating us, Council member Drexen stated flatly. His crystalline form pulsed with angry colors. Every breach, every demonstration undermines our authority. Member species are beginning to question our ability to maintain order. More than that, Whisper Suri interjected. They are questioning whether the old order should be maintained at all. The Torvin have formally requested that humanity be granted provisional council membership. 3 other species have filed similar petitions. Vrex felt his authority crumbling. For 3 centuries he had maintained council unity, through carefully balanced rewards and punishments. But humanity had disrupted that balance in mere weeks. "What are our military options?" he demanded. General Thexvor's response was blunt. "Limited. We can gather forces for a decisive strike. But human intelligence operations have mapped our fleet positions. They will know we are coming before we launch. And every simulation shows them using warfare tactics that our conventional forces cannot counter effectively." "Explain." "They will not meet us in open battle again," the general said. "They will target logistics, communications, civilian infrastructure. They will make every council world feel vulnerable. And based on their demonstrated infiltration capabilities, they can absolutely follow through on that threat." "They are terrorists," Drexen spat. "They are guerrilla fighters," Suri corrected. "There is a difference. Terrorists seek to spread fear randomly. Guerrillas target systems and infrastructure to make occupation impossible. Humanity has studied insurgent warfare for their entire history. They know how to make a superior force regret engagement." Vrex was silent for a long moment. He processed the implications. The council had thrived for thousands of years because challenges were met with overwhelming force. But force only worked against enemies who gathered in formations, who held territory, who fought by understandable rules. "What do they want?" he finally asked, though he already knew the answer. "Everything we have refused to give them," Suri replied. "A council seat, voting rights, recognition as an equal sovereign power, and an apology." "Apology?" "For the sanctions, for the threat, for treating them as subjects rather than potential allies. It is important to them, Speaker. Humans have strong concepts of honor and respect. The apology matters as much as the practical concessions." Drexen pulsed angry crimson. "The council does not apologize. We do not bow to upstarts and primitives." "Then the council will spend decades fighting an enemy it cannot defeat," Suri said simply. "Because that is another thing humans excel at: endurance. They can sustain conflict indefinitely if they believe the cause is just." "Can we?" The question hung in the air like a knife. Council species had grown comfortable, prosperous, soft in some ways. Their populations expected stability and peace. How long would they support a war that offered nothing but casualties and economic disruption? On the human carrier Dauntless, Captain Minseo reviewed the latest intelligence reports with grim satisfaction. The council was fracturing. Internal debates were becoming heated. Several member species were openly questioning continued hostilities. "We are winning," her executive officer noted, "without fighting a single major battle." "We are surviving," Minseo corrected. "There is a difference. Every day this continues is a day we risk the council deciding total warfare is preferable to negotiation." She pulled up a tactical display showing human space. 53 colonies, 12 major shipyards, 42 billion people spread across 17 star systems. Everything they had built. Everything they had achieved. It all balanced on a knife's edge. "Lieutenant Sunhee," she called to her communications officer, "open a channel to Earth Command. It is time to propose a final offer." Ambassador Hyunwoo stood before the council assembly 3 days later. He knew this could be either humanity's greatest triumph or its final diplomatic effort before total war. Every seat was filled. Every species represented. The chamber thrummed with tension. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," he began. His voice was amplified to fill the vast space. "We stand at a crossroads. Down one path lies continued conflict, suffering for all sides, an outcome that serves no one's interests. Down the other lies the possibility of something unprecedented in galactic history." "And what is that?" Speaker Vrex asked. His tone was carefully neutral. "True partnership. Not the forced compliance you have imposed on younger species, but genuine cooperation between equals." Hyunwoo activated his own holographic display. It showed images from Earth's history. "My species has fought countless wars. We have nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. But we have also learned that yesterday's enemies can become tomorrow's greatest allies. The question before this council is simple. Do you want humanity as an enemy or as a friend? You threaten us with friendship." Drexen scoffed. "I am offering you a choice. Grant us full council membership. Recognize our sovereignty, and we will contribute our unique perspectives and capabilities to galactic civilization. We will share our technology, our resources, our diplomatic support, Or maintain your current course and we will demonstrate exactly why you should never go to war with humans. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species argued for acceptance. They cited humanity's demonstrated capabilities and the cost of continued conflict. Others demanded that discipline be maintained, that the Council's authority not be questioned. Through it all, Hyunwoo stood silent, waiting. He had made his play. Now the galaxy would decide whether humanity would rise as an equal or be forced to burn the old order down to build something new from the ashes. Speaker Vrex raised his claw for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke with the weight of 3 centuries of leadership. This council will vote on the human petition. But first, I have a question for Ambassador Hyunwoo. If we choose war, will humanity show mercy to the billions of innocents who serve the council? Will you show mercy to the billions of humans who simply want to be free? Hyunwoo countered. We do not want war, Speaker. We want peace. But we will accept war before we accept subjugation. That is not a threat. It is simply who we are. The vote was scheduled for the following day. In that time, humanity held its breath while the galaxy decided its fate. The vote took place in the oldest chamber of the council complex. This room had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. 47 species, each with a single vote, would decide humanity's future. Ambassador Hyunwoo sat in the observer's gallery alongside Commander Yuna and a small human delegation. They were allowed to watch but not speak. The decision was out of their hands now. Speaker Vrex called the session to order with traditional formality. The matter before this council is unprecedented. Never in 50,000 years have we faced a species that demanded membership while bringing warships to our doorstep. We demanded membership after being threatened with economic strangulation. Hyunwoo interjected, unable to remain silent despite protocol. And we brought ships only after diplomatic channels failed. Do not rewrite history to make yourselves look innocent, Speaker. Vrex's jaw clicked in irritation, but he did not challenge the statement. Noted, the question remains. Does humanity deserve a seat at this council? The Torvin delegate rose first. Her crystalline form reflected light into rainbow patterns across the walls. My species has observed humanity for decades. They are violent, yes, but also creative. They are stubborn, but also loyal. They fight with passion but negotiate with honesty. I vote for acceptance. The galaxy needs new perspectives, even uncomfortable ones. One vote for humanity. The hive mind representative spoke next through their collective consciousness. 1,000 voices merged into one eerie sound. Unity through diversity has always been our creed. We see in humanity a species that, despite internal conflicts, ultimately seeks cooperation. They are young, but youth brings energy and innovation. We vote for acceptance, 2 votes, but then the tide shifted. The Draken supremacy and ancient military civilization voted against. They are too dangerous, too unpredictable. Give them time to mature, but not a voice in galactic affairs. Not yet. The vote went back and forth for 2 hours. Some species supported humanity's bid, seeing opportunity in alliance. Others feared setting a precedent where military threats led to political power. And some simply resented the disruption humanity had caused to the comfortable way things had always been. Commander Yuna leaned close to Hyunwoo and whispered, "It is going to be close." "Too close. We knew it would be," he whispered back, "but we had to try." The Velcrin Dominion voted against humanity. They cited concerns about human aggression and unpredictability. The Crystalline Consortium voted in favor, praising human ingenuity and adaptability. Back and forth the votes went, each one moving humanity closer to or further from their goal. 23 votes for humanity. 22 votes against. 2 species had not yet voted. The chamber fell silent as the Zenthian representative stood. The Zenthians were one of the oldest species in the council. Their vote carried enormous weight, not just numerically but symbolically. Elder Koth moved slowly to the speaking platform. His ancient body was supported by mechanical aids. "I have lived for 900 years, Koth began, his voice thin but clear. "I have seen much in my time. Wars, peace, the birth of new species into the galactic community, the extinction of others, and I have learned one truth that supersedes all others. Change is inevitable. Those who resist it are swept away. Those who embrace it survive." He paused, looking directly at the human delegation. "Humanity reminds me of the Zenthians in our youth. Aggressive, proud, unwilling to bend. We nearly destroyed ourselves in those early days. But we learned, we grew, and we became what we are today. I see that same potential in humanity. They may be rough now, but diamonds are rough before they are polished. The chamber held its breath. I vote for acceptance. Let humanity join us. Let them learn from us, and let us learn from them. 24 votes for humanity, 22 against. 1 vote remaining. The final species was the observers, a mysterious race that rarely spoke. They existed as energy beings, barely visible to most sensors. Their representative had not moved throughout the entire proceedings. Now slowly a shimmer of light formed at their designated space. We have watched humanity since they first looked to the stars, the observer said. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. We have seen their wars, their cruelty, their capacity for destruction, but we have also seen their compassion, their creativity, their refusal to accept limitations. They are flawed, as all species are, but they are also exceptional. The observer paused. The silence stretched. Every being in the chamber waited. We vote for acceptance. Humanity has earned its place among us. The chamber erupted. 25 votes for humanity, 22 against. Humanity had won by the narrowest possible margin. Hyun-woo felt his legs go weak with relief. Yuna gripped his shoulder, her own hands trembling. They had done it. Against all odds, they had secured humanity's place in the Galactic Council. Speaker Vrex struck his podium for order. The noise gradually died down. The Council has spoken. Humanity is granted full membership status effective immediately. They will receive 1 voting seat and all rights and responsibilities that come with Council membership. He turned to face Hyun-woo directly. Ambassador, please approach. Hyun-woo stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye, lens, and sensor focused on him. He was acutely aware that he represented not just himself, but every human who had ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. On behalf of humanity, Vrex said formally, I extend the Council's recognition. You are no longer subjects or observers. You are equals, partners in the governance of galactic affairs. Then, in a gesture that surprised everyone, Vrex extended his clawed hand. It was a human custom adopted for this moment, a handshake, a symbol of agreement and respect. Hyun-woo took the offered hand and shook it firmly. Thank you, Speaker. Humanity will not disappoint this council. We will contribute our strength, our innovation, and our commitment to justice and peace. See that you do. Vrex replied quietly. You have won your seat through force of will. Now you must prove you deserve to keep it through wisdom and restraint. The chamber began to empty as the session concluded. Various delegates approached Hyun-woo to offer congratulations or express their concerns. The Torvan delegate embraced him warmly. The Draken representative maintained a cold distance. Politics as usual. Outside the chamber, the human delegation gathered together. They had done the impossible. They had challenged the oldest and most powerful political body in the galaxy and won. What happens now? Yuna asked. Now we prove them right, Hyun-woo said. We show the galaxy that humanity can be more than warriors. We can be diplomats, scientists, artists, partners. We have our seat at the table. Now we need to show we know how to use it. News of the vote spread across human space at the speed of light. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every major city. People danced in the streets. Strangers embraced. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as subjects but as equals. On colony worlds, settlers looked up at the night sky with new hope. They were no longer vulnerable and isolated. They were part of something larger. Protected by galactic law. Represented in galactic politics. Aboard the Indomitable, Captain Doyen addressed his crew. We came here prepared for war. We leave in peace. That is the greatest victory any soldier can hope for. Stand down from battle stations. Set course for Earth. We are going home. The cheers that erupted from his crew echoed through the ship's corridors. They had fought without fighting, won without losing, protected their people without sacrificing them. In the council complex, Speaker Vrex sat alone in his private chambers. He had ruled for 3 centuries with absolute authority. Today that authority had been challenged and found wanting. The vote had been close. Too close. It revealed cracks in the council's unity that he would need to address. But as he reflected on the day's events, he felt something unexpected. Not anger or resentment, but curiosity. Humanity had forced change upon the council. Perhaps that change was overdue. Perhaps the galaxy needed a species that refused to accept the way things had always been. Time would tell if humanity would be the Council's salvation or its downfall. But one thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same again, and somewhere in the depths of space on a small blue planet called Earth, children looked up at the stars and dreamed of the adventures that awaited them among the Council worlds. They dreamed of exploration and discovery, of friendship with alien species and journeys to distant worlds. They dreamed because humanity had shown them that even the impossible could be achieved with courage, determination, and the refusal to accept defeat. The age of humanity had begun. 6 months after the vote, the galaxy had learned to adjust to its newest member. Humanity wasted no time making its presence felt in the Galactic Council. Ambassador Hyunwoo attended every session, asked difficult questions, and proposed bold reforms that made some species uncomfortable but impressed others. The first major test came when the Velcrin Dominion attempted to annex a disputed border world. For centuries, such actions had been rubber-stamped by the Council. Powerful species took what they wanted and weaker species accepted their fate. It was simply the way things worked, but humanity refused to accept it. The Council exists to maintain justice, not to legitimize theft, Hyunwoo declared during the emergency session. If we allow this annexation, we set a precedent that power alone determines rights. Is that the message we want to send to the galaxy? The Velcrin ambassador bristled. This is a matter between our people and the inhabitants of that world. It does not concern humanity. It concerns anyone who believes in the rule of law, Hyunwoo countered. Today it is your neighbor. Tomorrow it could be mine, or yours, he said, gesturing to the other delegates. We either stand for principles or we stand for nothing. The debate raged for hours. Some species supported humanity's position. Others argued for traditional council policy. But the discussion itself was revolutionary. Never before had a junior member so boldly challenged a senior species on matters of galactic importance. In the end, the Council voted to investigate the annexation claim. It was not a victory for humanity, but it was progress. The message was clear. The days of unquestioned dominance by elder species were ending. Speaker Vrex watched these developments with mixed feelings. Humanity was keeping its promise to contribute to galactic governance, but they were also disrupting comfortable traditions and forcing difficult conversations. They are trouble, Council Member Drexen complained after another heated session. They question everything, challenge everything. They show no respect for tradition. They show respect for justice, Whisper Suri countered. Perhaps that is more important than tradition. Vrex said nothing. He was beginning to understand that humanity's greatest contribution might not be their military strength or technological innovation. It might be their willingness to ask why things were done a certain way and whether there was a better alternative. On Earth, humanity embraced its new role with enthusiasm. Cultural exchange programs brought alien species to human worlds. Universities offered courses on galactic history and xenobiology. Artists created works inspired by alien cultures. Musicians collaborated with species whose concept of music was completely different from human understanding. Young. Koreans like Jihoon and Yoonji enrolled in the new Galactic Diplomacy Academy in Seoul. They dreamed of representing humanity among the stars, of building friendships with alien species, of exploring worlds that had never known human footsteps. My grandfather fought in the border conflicts, Jihoon told his classmates. He said we earned our place at the council table with blood and courage. Now it is our job to prove we deserve to stay there with wisdom and compassion. The academy trained a new generation of human diplomats, scientists, and cultural ambassadors. They studied alien languages, customs, and psychology. They learned that the galaxy was vast and diverse, and that humanity's perspective was just one among thousands. But humanity's military preparedness did not fade. Commander Yuna oversaw the expansion of Earth's defense forces, not for conquest but for protection. The galaxy had learned that humans were dangerous when threatened. Yuna wanted to ensure they remained dangerous enough that threats would not come. Peace through strength, she told her officers. We negotiate from a position of respect because we have proven we can defend ourselves. Let us never give the galaxy reason to doubt that. The human fleet grew. New ships were commissioned. Advanced weapons were developed. Training programs produced soldiers who were both warriors and diplomats, capable of fighting if necessary but preferring peace when possible. 6 months turned to a year. Humanity's first year as a council member was marked by both successes and challenges. They brokered a trade agreement between the Torvin Collective and the hive minds, species that had been cold toward each other for centuries. They proposed environmental protection standards for developing worlds. They advocated for the rights of non-spacefaring species, but they also made enemies. Some species resented human interference in affairs they considered settled. Others feared that humanity's rapid rise would continue, eventually threatening their own positions. Whispers of conspiracy circulated in diplomatic circles. Rumors that humanity was too ambitious, too aggressive, too dangerous. Ambassador Hyunwoo addressed these concerns directly during a major council address. Some of you fear humanity because we are different, because we challenge the status quo, because we refuse to simply accept things as they are. That fear is understandable. Change is frightening. But change is also necessary. He paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled delegates. A year ago, we stood at the brink of war. Today, we work together, not always in agreement, but always in dialogue. That is progress. Yes, humanity has been disruptive. Yes, we have asked uncomfortable questions. But has the Council not benefited from that disruption? Have we not forced conversations that were long overdue? The chamber was silent. Even Drexen could not immediately respond. We do not seek to dominate this council, Hyunwoo continued. We seek to participate as equals, to contribute our strengths and learn from yours, to build a galaxy where all species, regardless of age or power, have a voice. That is the future we want to create. Together. The speech was broadcast across the galaxy. On human worlds, people watched with pride. On alien worlds, reactions were mixed. But even those who distrusted humanity had to admit that their commitment seemed genuine. Speaker Vrex approached Hyunwoo after the session. That was a powerful speech, Ambassador. But words are easy. Actions are what matter. Then judge us by our actions, Hyunwoo replied. We have kept every promise we made. We have contributed positively to council affairs. What more can we do to earn your trust? Time, Vrex said simply. Give it time. Trust is not built in months or even years. It is built over decades and centuries. Continue as you have been. Prove that your words and actions remain consistent. That is all any of us can ask. On the frontier colony of Taeyang 3, the world that had sparked the entire conflict, settlers celebrated their first anniversary of permanent settlement. The colony had grown from a few thousand to over 50,000 inhabitants. Farms stretched across fertile valleys. Cities rose from empty plains. Children played under an alien sun, unaware that their home had nearly been taken from them. Governor Taehyung addressed the colonists during the celebration. A year ago, we did not know if we would be allowed to stay here. We did not know if the council would force us to leave. But our people stood firm. They said we had the right to be here, and they were willing to fight for that right. He looked up at the sky where stars were beginning to appear. We are here because humanity refused to back down. Because we proved that we belong among the stars. Let us never forget the price of freedom, and let us always be worthy of those who secured it for us. Across the galaxy, similar celebrations took place on every human world. They celebrated not just their survival but their triumph. They had faced the most powerful political body in the galaxy and emerged as equals. But in the shadows, new threats were forming. Not all species had accepted humanity's rise. Some plotted ways to undermine human influence. Others sought to test humanity's resolve. The galaxy was vast, and not all its inhabitants wished humanity well. Yet humanity faced these challenges as they had faced every challenge in their history. With courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that they deserved their place among the stars, on Earth, in the same underground command center where they had planned for war, Commander Yuna and Ambassador Hyunwoo met one final time before the ambassador returned to the council complex. Do you think we made the right choice? Yuna asked, demanding equality rather than accepting what they offered. I think we made the only choice we could live with, Hyunwoo replied. We came to the stars to be free, not to trade one set of masters for another. Yes, we took enormous risks. Yes, we could have lost everything, but we did not. We won. And now? Now we prove that the galaxy was right to accept us. We show them what humanity can achieve when given the chance. We build, we explore, we create, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. We become the species we always claimed to be. Yuna smiled. No pressure then? They both laughed. It felt good to laugh after so much tension and fear. They had survived the crucible and emerged stronger. As Hyunwoo prepared to depart, he looked back at Yuna. The military will always be important. We must remain strong. But I hope your ships spend more time exploring than fighting. I hope the next generation knows us as builders and discoverers, not just warriors.